In Ireland, we eat a lot of chicken, and it's becoming more and more popular these days, especially with the reduction in people eating red meat and with sustainability. So for this dish, I'm going to have a look at making a chicken broth. So you might say, as a chef, yeah, we make chicken broths, we use them in soups and base sauces, but what I want to do is I want for you guys to think outside of the box. We're going to add value to this dish. So it's going to be a standalone dish using all the vegetables that we've cooked the broth in, and actually add value to your menu and increase your profits. So for this recipe, I'm going to use a chicken broth that I've made from leftover chicken bones, but I'm also going to utilize the vegetables that I cooked the chicken bones in. So I'm going to use leeks, celery, carrots, shallots. I'm going to finish it with some leftover pasta. I'm going to finish it with some of the chicken meat that I pulled off the bone prior to cooking a broth. So what I have is, I have a chicken stock that I previously made with some bones, and before I made it, I took off some of the leg meat, just so that I can add it into the soup. I'm going to use some leftover pasta that I had from a pasta salad. But the key here is I'm going to use the ingredients that I cooked the stock in. So really what I wanted to do is I wanted to leave the vegetables whole so they would hold, because it's a 2.5 hour cook. But there's nothing better than the flavour of carrots, celery and leeks and shallots that have been actually cooked with a chicken bone. So for this dish, really, it's really about warming it up. So I'm going to add in my broth. So as you can see that it's a nice jelly. And I'm going to cut my vegetables into really nice sized pieces. So it's going to split them in half. And you can see with these vegetables that I didn't even peel them, I just washed them really well. So there's basically zero waste. Just going to cut them at an angle here. Okay. So for presentation wise, it's going to be absolutely stunning. Now you see most chefs, what they'll do is they'll chop up their mirepoix, and by the time their actual stock is actually cooked, the vegetables is actually gone to, it's disintegrated, and they're not really usable. Well, I'm going to take that back. You actually could use them. You can actually puree them and add them into sauces as well. So you can see I'm just cutting these at an angle, and they're actually full of chicken stocks and full of jelly, so they're full of flavour. So for the shallots, I left the skin on, I just split them in half, and I'm just going to peel them back. I'm just going to cut them into quarters, and they're going to break down in the soup. And then I'm just going to cut up my chicken. We're going to warm everything in the pan, and then we're pretty much good to go. I'm going to finish this dish with a little bit of fresh basil, just to add a little bit of freshness to it. You can see all my veg go in. And really everything's cooked, so you're warming through. So for service, this is very, very service friendly. Now my chicken, I'm just going to, again, nice bite-sized pieces. Dice it up. Again, it doesn't have to be uniform, because I think when consumers think of broths, they think of really kind of healthy, wholesome foods. Now in the summertime, what I'll do is I'll finish this maybe with some tomatoes. And also what's a really good idea is that you can actually finish this with some beans that you maybe had in a bean salad, like haricot beans or pinto beans. So there we have it. We have our chicken gone in. I'm going to check the seasoning. I'm going to add in my pasta. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish the dish with some fresh basil. So you can see I'm just going to gently warm that through. It doesn't really even have to come up to a really hard boil. I'm going to check the seasoning. I'm going to add in a pinch of salt. Again, I'm using Oriole sea salt. And I'm going to finish it with some fresh basil. I always like dishes that are on my menu that are service friendly, and this is a really service friendly dish. There we go. Again, when you're adding soft herbs, you want to add them in last minute so that the flavor just releases. Add a little bit more in. And then I'm just going to finish it with some fresh basil. I'll turn that off. And there we go. So basically all the prep and the mise en place is actually making the stock and taking the time to slowly cook it and do your vegetables right. And then really you're just finishing it off. Some fresh herbs. Chervil is really nice in here, tarragon is really nice in here. And then, you know, depending on what you have in your kitchen, you can really marry the flavors. And there we have it. So there's my chicken broth using all of the vegetables, some leftover pasta, and it's finished with some fresh basil.
Premiumbeat.com